Hey team, how you going? So the silly season's coming to an end. We just spent a week away up at Forest Beach, up in far north Queensland. So over the last, while we were away for the week, obviously I was still answering some questions on the owners group and that sort of thing. So just want to run through a few of the ones that came up. So over the week we had about 3 to 4 flat batteries, lithium batteries, so we had to go ahead and reset those. A few of those were giant batteries, which obviously don't have the reset button like the Enerdrive lithium battery does. So we were able to get through those, and some of them were on 240 volts, so they just switched priority mode on the AC charger, and then they were able to reboot the BMS in those giant batteries. So what I've done is, you'll see on the owners group, I've pinned the post to the top of the page there, which has the YouTube video from the Enerdrive guys, running you through how to reset the BMS on your Enerdrive system, okay, and that can apply for the giant as well. Now off grid, if you got the giant, or the Enerdrive, you can go ahead and grab that off the page, and hopefully that'll get you out of trouble. The other thing with that is, I hope those sort of people learnt from that experience and realised, or have learnt, how they got to that situation in the first place. Now sometimes you're off grid and you just don't get enough solar, so be it. So that happens, so if you're not getting good sunlight, your solar's struggling, be very mindful of what you're using, and when, and in particular your fridge settings, when you're off grid. In general, freezers and free camping don't mix. That'll get you into trouble in the first place. So anyway, that's pinned to the top of the page now, the owners group, so you can go ahead and keep an eye on that. Those people with giants, or even the Enerdrive, you'll see the guys, sometimes a little lithium portable jumper pack, can be quite handy, if when you're unable to use the priority mode, and you'll see that on that YouTube clip from the Enerdrive guys. Hot water, the hot water system. Been a bit of conversation. I had one today, for the example, the Sirocco, and up on the board there you'll see the hot water button, correction, water heater button, you only need that when you're going to run the hot water system, off 240 volt. So you've got 240 volt available, running through your 15 amp lead, obviously. So all you need to do, if you want to run your hot water off 240 volt, is obviously plug the van in, switch on the AC GPO underneath the bed, where the hot water system plugs into the wall, and turn on the button, the water heater button. You don't need to remove the cover to run on 240 volt. That's all you need to do. And if you go back through some of Scotty's YouTube videos there, you'll see that he'll explain, although he doesn't sort of switch that on and then switch on the water heater button, he tells you which steps you don't require. You obviously run on gas, turn the gas on, take the cover off, and then hit your selected water temperature that you require. So that's the difference there between running the hot water system on gas and 240 volt. Had another few as well as a few private messages as well. Right, and keep them coming. Hey, I don't mind. All right, keep it coming. Private message me. Right, some people you may not be comfortable. All right, putting it out there. All right, so that's fine with me too. So just private message me. Okay, no power to PowerPoints. So can occur with some sort of different fixes for that. All right. The first one, probably your combat indicator, is if you're not going any PowerPoints, is turn your aircon on. Righto. If your aircon works, then external to the van is getting power. All right. So it's something else. All right. Obviously, check your AC breakers. Check them as well. One of the biggest ones for not getting any power to the 240 volt is most of them were people that had the EnerDrive inverter with SmartPass. So what they need to remember is on the end of the EnerDrive inverter, if you have a SmartPass, there is an AC breaker on the back of it. All right, because you have chosen to have the AC SmartPass, what happens is that system now becomes part of the 240 volt loop. All right, so if that breaker is off, right, then 240 volt does not flow to the GPOs. Right, so it's in the loop now. Right, those that don't have SmartPass, our inverters aren't in the loop. We're in the 12 volt loop. Okay, and the inverter is changing from 12 volt from the battery to a designated 1 GPO, alright, for us to run a 240 volt item. Which brings me to another point on understand 240 volt and 12 volt, okay, in the vans. Alright, so pretty much if you don't have a SmartPass, the only thing that is 240 volt, right, in your van is the aircon, right? And when you're plugged into 240, obviously you can utilize your GPOs and you can run your water heater on 240 volt. Okay, just because you're plugged into 240 volt, right, the remainder of the van, apart from the pre-mentioned, is still 12 volt. Your fridge, your lights, okay, they're all running off your battery. However, when you're plugged into 240, your 40 amp AC EnerDrive charger is replenishing what you're using in 12 volt. Okay, so just remember that. Why is that so? Right, because the van is designed to be off grid. Okay, that is why we keep certain items separate. All right, because if you want to run your aircon off 12 volt, right, which seems to be, I don't know, becoming a fashion and some kind of bragging, right? It won't run all night anyway. Then minimum, right, if you want to run it off 12 volt, well, one, you've got to reconfigure the wiring, okay, to do that, to run the aircon. All right. You're looking at minimum of 400 watts of lithium battery, a 3000 watt inverter, like I said, the rewiring, and even then you probably only run for a couple of hours anyway. Okay, yeah, so don't forget that extra AC breaker you've got on the end of your inverter if you've got the SmartPass. Alright. The other one was had a couple who couldn't get any power. They were plugged into 240 volt at home in the driveway, couldn't get any power to their GPOs, 240 volt GPOs, and in the end it turned out that the safety switch on the Amphibium that they were using, and good on them doing the righty, using an Amphibium to run a 10 amp to 15 amp, it had tripped. right? They didn't really sort of think about checking the whole loop basically. All right. So if you run an Amphibium or one of those adapters, you can't get any power to the van. Again, your combat indicator is try your aircon. If your aircon won't work, chances are you're not getting power to the van. All right. In a van park, all right, same. Righto. Go outside. In the past too, we've had 15 amp plugs not pushed all the way home, righto, or on the pole at the caravan park we'll have a safety switch on there, and just check that as well, that it hasn't tripped. Okay. We spoke about understanding what is 240 and what is 12 volt. All right. Also at the top of the owners page, I've also pinned the Enerdrive Facebook group. Okay, Enerdrive Unplugged, I believe it's called. Join those guys. It's monitored by their tech heads, right? And they also have group experts in that Facebook group as well. Even if you don't have a problem, get on there, run a search, righto. Things that might have happened to you in the past, or you can hit up the guys on there and ask questions. And also the Enerdrive YouTube is fantastic as well. Some really good videos in there, okay, of fault finding and how the system works, and all that. It's really good, right? And obviously I've pinned that separate one YouTube video that covers resetting lithium BMS, okay, when they shut down on you. So that's really handy. Hey, I hope you had a great Christmas and a good New Year. Look forward to all your questions, and like I said, don't be frightened to private message me. Excuse my disheveled look. Okay, I like to go a little bit feral when I'm on leave away from work. Growing a bit of facial hair is a bit of a novelty for me when I'm on leave around Christmas period. But I hope everyone had a great Christmas and a great New Year, and look forward to all our new owners joining. And I love those posts when people pick up their vans, okay, or get the email. That's fantastic. So stay safe, guys. Look after your van, look after your battery, all right, and stay on top of your van's maintenance. Right, it's a mechanical item. It's no different to your car, right? So you need to stay on top of your maintenance. Which reminds me, we also had quite a few fridge slides not extending all the way out. So the fix to that is, one, stay on top of your maintenance, get your good quality some silicone spray, and spray your runners. Okay, look after them, right? Because if you don't and they go dry, this is what happens. Okay, they don't lock out, right? They don't come all the way out, right? Because the little mechanisms to do that, right, are getting jammed because they don't have enough lubrication. Okay, and they're getting stuck, especially vans that are stored away, right? So make sure you a bit of silicone spray. Like I said, if they get to that point, both hands on the ends, extend it as far as you can, take the weight, right, and give it a good shove, all right. But the main thing is get that lubrication, and then what you'll find is that slide will continue, right, to come all the way out every time, all right. The other one was the hot water system. There was a few questions about emptying that system, right, and why we do it. Now you might read the user manual, right, and it talks about winter time. Okay, the reason for that is because the system is probably manufactured in Europe, right, where obviously if you don't empty it, the water will freeze. Okay, and then you sort of in a bit of trouble. In our climate, all right, the reason why you empty it when it's sitting stationary, right, and you don't require it, right, is because the system doesn't have an anode, right. A lot of other manufacturers have a hot water system, and it runs a sacrificial anode, alright, to deal with contaminants and high calcium in the water, phosphates, etc. So the reason why we empty it is because it doesn't have an anode, right? So you don't want those heavy metals, etc. Depending on where your water source is coming from, right? You don't want that sitting in there because it'll decrease the lifespan of the tank and it'll rot out basically, right? So when you're at home and you don't need it, right, flick your little yellow toggle switch up and empty that tank out so you haven't got stagnant water sitting in that tank. Okay. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Unfortunately for a lot of us, back to work soon to make another $1 and so we can do another trip. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.